last week I actually forgot to like record the chapter in time, and it was like a combination of that being busy, and it was like nothing really happened in the last chapter, and it's like, well, I'll just combine it with the next chapter and just talk about like stuff for a double chapter. And what's funny is this chapter was really hype, but like in terms of stuff to talk about, there's really only like the one thing that like the last time I read was mostly us to getting the new, I guess not like a new form, but new variation to his form. And after that, like you had like, okay, well, it looks like they cut the big slug Lucifaro, and I was like, well, I was really hoping for this being a misdirection and it being a fake out, and then obviously like this, in this panel is enough to say like, yeah, that was what it was, and seems he's only halfway manifested, which I think is fine. Getting him in like out here and getting him on display while not giving us his full power, I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. And it makes me wonder, because I thought maybe Morris was going to be more of the focus after like it seemed like it was starting to shift over to him from Dante when Dante started to kind of get taken off. Because even after Dante's defeat with Asta, it seemed like Tabata had more plans with him, in that old part where he's like, oh, he wanted to fight Asta again in the whole like healing chamber that Morris had. And then after that point, it was like he started to get less like hype spotlight and more of just kind of he's getting beaten up and attacked by other people, when Morris started getting more attention. And then Morris started to kind of build on that, and then Morris, the events that happened to Morris are pretty much being turned into a portable battery for the whole ritual and an accelerant just to get Lucifaro. I was like, okay, well, I guess he's not going to be the villain. And I knew there was going to have to be something that was going to happen, because otherwise they'd win right here, because it would be like the Dark Triad's defeated, Morris is done, they get Yami and William back. There had to be something that pretty much set like everything into motion. And I'm really wondering more about like the events to follow this than anything else, because my big hopes, and it will be fine if both Yami and William live to me, if it's pretty much like permanently the two gates are going to be out, and like the Black Clover world is just going to have to do their best to adapt with these devils now existing in the world again. And I would assume maybe later they try and find ways to open more gates, but for now we have halfway manifested Lucifaro. Like I would assume he is stuck at half until they get all the way down to his natural gate, and then once that opens, he returns to full power. That would just make sense to me, because then it's like, okay, well, they can fight him and do stuff now at half, and he'll still get, he can still feel like the big bad guy, and then still have opponents more powerful than this version of him later, and then end with like him actually being at full power. I'm really hoping what Tabata's doing is like this was more almost like a setup arc, and like this was all just been to kind of like build a large scale set of events to happen in the rest of Black Clover. Think of it as like this whole portion of the Spade has been everything up into the Elf Resurrection arc, and then for this arc, it would be like the Elf Resurrection arc, but we're going to be getting like devils on the move and doing their thing. But actually, out of the two of them, I really like the second Gate Devil's design. I think he looks cool. I like his personality so far. He just seems to kind of be like, yeah, whatever. I'm not really, I'm not really too invested in this, but I'm here. Whereas Lucifaro obviously is, he's here to do stuff. He's clearly here to do stuff. Obviously, he had a first good chapter flex. Actually, one thing about the chapter that I don't think it really matters, but there was that moment when used his Euros bow again, and he shot the arrow at the like remaining chunks of the Lucifaro slug. And the thing that I noticed in the first shot, when he shot Xenon, it was way faster, but it didn't do the type of damage that it's doing. Whereas this one didn't seem as fast, but obviously it was way more damaging. And I think it'd be really cool, and this is obviously just like a kind of like a little theory idea, is if it was like Yuno's arrow, if he could choose, if like, okay, this shot is going to be made for more damage, but obviously, it's going to be way less fast. Whereas like, okay, this one is just going to be like pretty much just a straight line shot, super fast. It's going to pretty much pierce everything it hits, but it's not going to be like a big AoE damaging attack. Whereas like if he shot it the way that he used it against Xeon, there would just be that same hole, but through Lucifer, where it would just heal up. Whereas like if you used this version against Xenon, Xenon would just dodge it or something. Obviously, that's just an idea. I think that'd be really cool though, because it would go into Yuno's whole thing about like, mana control and like high mana kind of blending and manipulation. I think that'll be really neat. If the case, I don't think so, but I mean, like, it's just a little idea I had. But after that point, you have Lucifaro and him kind of show up like this new devil that's, again, I think he's really cool. But Lucifaro, he has a really good showing in his first initial outing. So I really liked the usage of some of the quiet panels. Like the whole chapter starts out like, obviously, like they, Asta just cut the big Lucifaro slug in half. You get the arrow like immediately. You get a cool moment between Asta and even far away where they're having a rival moment, a very trusted rival moment. You got William getting saved by Patri. Everything is kind of chilling out. The Yami's happy to see the Black Bolts. They're obviously happy to see him. And then you get like these panels of like Nox standing and he's like looking around. You have like a bunch of members, like the captains and stuff, like standing and looking like it's like better hours are about to come. Sunshine is on the way, and there's no dialogue. And then there's like Sally, and happy to see Rades. Rades in the chapter, that was just a delight to me. He didn't get any lines or he's not doing anything, but I was just happy to see him. But they have all these parts where it's really quiet, and then it's like you have Ralph going to talk to Yuno, and then immediately afterwards you have this new devil show up. And I figured that like this second devil had to be here. Like even if Lucifer didn't show up, my idea was that Asta, pretty much had to use all of his Devil Union power in that one attack. And because of that, it pretty much would force the Devil Union to reset. So instead of a 5 minute, it's like, I can do this one mega attack, but it automatically resets. Because logically, from Asta's point of view, this would be the end. Like, this would be the last thing that I'd do. So I feel like in the idea of like a grand finale where it's like, I put all my power into this attack, it would make sense, considering it would have logically otherwise been the climax, but obviously it didn't work. So I figured like, okay, well, what if Asta doesn't have his Devil Union form, but this stuff is still going on, and you have this second gate devil, because the gate is open, so the second gate devil should come out. But you have Lucifaro now out as well, which is, halfway manifest. But it was just a really good scene in general. That quick devil here, he's just like, yeah, what are you guys doing? You probably don't want to be here. And then you see like this big flesh polymerization looking swirl of Lucifaro just kind of like merging, condensed down, and he like steps out of it like it's some weird egg, some like sick berserk type move. And he then just looks at them and he's like, all of you bow your heads, and he just passively puts them on the ground with his gravity. And I like that Tabata just had a black screen and then had them on the ground. So it wasn't like I'm putting gravity on them and they're reacting and it's like, oh, that's so powerful. Because I think this was more effective than a like characters just astonished how strong he is, because it's just like black screen, next thing you see they're down. There was no resistance, there was no trying to fight back. He just put them face down into the ground, which I think was really cool. And it was also off a very ominous introduction to him, which I think kind of like rode into that with a, I don't want to say like a pretty much like a combo point thing of just like how he tied those together that definitely benefited his introduction in his first scene really well. But then Asta's flying in, he sees everybody, and Lucifaro just is immediately right next to him, and it's like, so it was you who, they got in the way of my manifestation being complete. So he's halfway. I'm guessing that, again, he's going to have to wait to get all the way through to, like, all the gates through to actually be able to come out full power. Actually, I think that'd be really cool, though. It's like Asta's sword did set it so he only could come out at half power. I think that'd be pretty cool, because it would definitely give Asta, even though he didn't complete it, it gave it still it gave it enough value to like where it'll be more beneficial. Like if he came out 100% now, obviously he would have just washed everybody, killed everybody, and it would have been over. There's nothing there they could do. Because even though he's clearly way more powerful, he's only at half power. So he's going to be stronger, but I would imagine he's not the same world-ending boss that they were bringing him up. The same guy who would pretty much wreck the entire continent if he got out. But yeah, it was a good chapter. Like the 2 chapters read really fast, which is fine. Like they're made to be way more visually like kind of like appealing, and way more of a like cinematic scene by stuff like the very quiet big double spreads, the scenes of silence before like stuff like Lucifero coming out. Again, the black text box, or I guess not text box, the black panel, just to kind of have that, like if you're watching it, just instant black screen, and the next thing you see is like it'd be like an explosion, I would assume, and then, you know, one of them, like maybe Rilla's like looking up, and he doesn't have like good vision, it's still unblurred, there's dust everywhere, and you just hear this creepy music in the background, and you just see this dude floating there, and he just bodied everybody here. Whatever he does with them is going to be, I think, one of the more intriguing parts to this arc, because obviously he's not at full power, but he should still act like Lucifero. So this is us actually getting to see this guy who, as far as we know, is going to be the final boss of Black Clover. So unless anyone comes after him, he is the end. So this is really important, because we haven't had like a big focus villain since Patri. Because like Zagreus obviously was like a big villain, but he wasn't like a long-standing, like, you're seeing this guy over a good period of time, and like the build-up for like his fight and stuff is obviously done throughout like way more kind of portions of the story. Obviously what we're beginning with Lucifero in comparison to Zagreus, where Zagreus was like a plot twist sudden appearance. So how Lucifero acts in the next couple chapters, I think, is going to really set the tone for him. I'm kind of hoping he does something more unpredictable than kind of just, you know, just be like some big powerful devil who's like, you know, I'm just going to kill all the humans. Like, I think it'd be really cool if, you know, this is a wild, like, probably one of the most wild Black Clover theories that I have. And it's not like something that I have like investment in. It's just the idea. Like, what if we got another time skip, but it's like a couple years in the future, and the devils have pretty much just started to really take reign, and outside of like the handful of people that are fighting back against them, most of humanity is like enslaved, and it's done in this way of like they failed, and it sets up the end game world where everything is like in its most dangerous and stuff. And then, you know, you can have a time skip movie, put Asta at that last step, get him his perfected devil union, and have him like fighting supreme devils like on the regular. We'll see though. Obviously it's gonna be a bit. We got the 2 weeks because, you know, Christmas is coming up. You know, obviously Tabata deserves time off to rest, and he left us at a really good spot before he goes on that Christmas break. So hopefully when he comes back, because I think it's always painful at this time of year, because it's like you have a 2-week break, and then we'll have a chapter, and then we'll probably have another 2-week break, and then we'll get back to the normal schedule. And outside of that, though, I'm pretty satisfied with this. I mean, this went pretty much the way that a lot of people were hoping it would go, that it was a fake out, and we would get Lucifero and this new devil kind of, you know, showing up. So we'll see. I definitely want to see what this other dude's magic is more than Lucifero's. He's got like these drippy panels, so I'm hoping for something like acid or something really sick like that. Anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but like, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But than that, I appreciate everybody's art, subscribe. Thank you all for listening. Bye.